My dear brother, my dear sister, if your heart feels tired of waiting and your life feels like it's standing still while everyone else moves forward, this moment is not random. There are some delays that come from the world, and there are some delays that come from Allah, and the difference between them can change the way you see your entire life. Because sometimes the reason nothing is moving right now is not because you are being denied. It's because you are being protected. So before you scroll past this, let me tell you something softly. What Allah is holding back from you tonight may be the very thing that saves you tomorrow. You are not behind. You are being held, my dear brother, my dear sister. Let me speak to you in this quiet moment when the world finally loosens its grip on you, when the noise of the day fades into the background, when your phone is a little quieter, when the pressure of expectations, responsibilities, and unfinished thoughts finally gives you a small space to breathe. If you are here right now listening to these words, it is not by accident. Something inside you slowed down. Something inside you leaned in. Something inside you needed a softer voice than the one the world uses with you all day. And in this moment, let me speak to that part of you. If you feel like life is moving forward for everyone else while you are standing still, I want you to know that you are not alone in feeling this way. Many hearts carry this quiet question at night. They look at the lives of others and wonder, why am I not there yet? Why is my story taking so long? Why do I feel like I am always waiting? Sometimes this feeling comes when you see people reaching milestones you once dreamed of. Sometimes it comes when you hear good news from someone else and try to smile while something inside you feels heavy. Sometimes it comes when you sit alone and replay your own life in your mind, wondering where things slowed down, where you took a turn that led you here instead of somewhere else. And slowly, without realizing it, a dangerous thought begins to form. I am behind. But let me tell you something gently, because this thought can quietly hurt a heart if it is left alone for too long. You are not behind. You are being held. There is a difference between being delayed and being protected. There is a difference between being left and being guided. There is a difference between standing still because you are lost and standing still because someone wiser than you has placed a hand in front of you and said, "Not yet." Imagine a child running toward a road without seeing the car coming. The child only feels stopped, only feels restricted, only feels confused. But the one who pulls the child back sees what the child cannot see. Sometimes in your life, Allah does the same. You feel like you are being stopped. You feel like you are being held back. You feel like your path is not opening the way you hoped it would. But Allah sees what you cannot yet see. He sees what lies ahead of you. He sees what would meet you if you moved forward too quickly, too early, too unprepared. So when He slows you down, it is not because He has forgotten you. It is because He is watching over you. My dear brother, my dear sister, there are seasons in life when movement is not what you need. There are times when growth does not look like progress on the outside, but healing on the inside. There are moments when Allah is not building your future, but strengthening your foundation. Because what good is a tall building if its base is weak? We often ask Allah for change, for success, for relationships, for opportunities, for answers. But sometimes Allah looks at our hearts and sees that we are still tired from the last chapter, still wounded from something we never fully healed from, still carrying fears we never put down, still shaped by pain that we pretend no longer affects us. And in His mercy, He does not rush us into the next chapter. He gives us space. He gives us quiet. He gives us time to breathe, time to reflect, time to reconnect with Him, time to rediscover who we are when no one is watching. You may think nothing is happening in your life right now, but something very important is happening. You are becoming more patient, becoming more aware, becoming more honest with yourself, becoming more dependent on Allah instead of the world. These changes do not make noise. They do not announce themselves. They do not show up on timelines or in conversations, but they shape the way you will walk into your future. My dear brother, my dear sister, sometimes when Allah wants to give you something beautiful, He first teaches you how to carry it. If He gives you love before you learn how to value yourself, you may cling instead of cherish. If He gives you success before you learn humility, you may grow proud instead of grateful. If He gives you ease before you learn patience, you may forget Him instead of remember Him. So He teaches you first through quiet, through waiting, through moments when you feel unseen, through nights when you talk to Him more than you talk to anyone else. These are not empty moments, these are sacred moments. You may not realize it now, but these are the times when your relationship with Allah becomes personal, not just something you inherited, not just something you practice because others do, but something you turn to because you need Him. And that kind of connection is a gift greater than many of the things you are waiting for. Let me speak to the part of you that feels forgotten. Allah does not forget. He knows the exact number of breaths you take in a day. He knows the exact thoughts you try to push away at night. He knows the exact dua you repeat quietly because you are tired of explaining it to people who do not understand. He knows. And if He knows, then your life is not random. Your waiting is not meaningless. Your pause is not a mistake. Sometimes Allah makes your path quiet because He wants to speak to you without distraction. When everything is busy, loud and full, it is hard to hear guidance. It is hard to notice signs. It is hard to reflect on who you are becoming. So He creates space. He removes some noise. He slows some connections. He softens your routine. And in that space, you begin to hear your own heart. You begin to notice what truly matters to you. You begin to realize what you were chasing out of habit instead of purpose. This is not punishment. This is clarity, my dear brother, my dear sister. There is something very heavy about constantly comparing your timeline to someone else's. It steals your peace. It makes your blessings feel smaller. It makes your journey feel wrong, even when it is exactly what you need. But Allah did not create you as a copy of someone else. He did not write your story using another person's life as a template. Your path is yours because your heart is yours. Your tests are yours because your strength is yours. Your timing is yours because your destiny is yours. What would be too easy for someone else might be too heavy for you right now. What would be too light for someone else might be exactly the weight you need to grow. So do not measure your life using a ruler that was never meant for you. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me tell you something that can bring your heart a little rest tonight. If Allah wanted to move you forward, nothing in this world could stop it. If Allah wanted to keep you where you are, nothing in this world could push you past it. So where you are right now is not an accident. It is a place Allah allowed. And if Allah allowed it, there is wisdom in it, even if you cannot see it yet. You may be learning something here that you will need later. You may be meeting a version of yourself here that you will thank later. You may be developing a strength here that will carry you through something big later. This place you are standing in, even if it feels uncomfortable, is not wasted ground. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to the part of you that feels tired of waiting. It is okay to feel tired. It is okay to feel impatient. It is okay to wish things were different. Allah does not expect you to be made of stone. He created you with a heart that hopes, a heart that longs, a heart that sometimes feels heavy. But bring that heart to Him. Talk to Him the way you are, not the way you think you are supposed to sound. Tell Him when you are tired. Tell Him when you are confused. Tell Him when you feel behind. Because Allah is not only the one who gives, He is also the one who listens. And sometimes the greatest comfort is not in getting what you want, but in knowing that the one who controls everything hears you, my dear brother, my dear sister. One day, when you look back at this season of your life, you may realize something that surprises you. You may realize that this was the time when your heart became stronger. This was the time when your faith became deeper. This was the time when you learned how to stand without leaning on people. This was the time when you learned how to trust Allah in silence, not just in celebration. And when what you are waiting for finally arrives, you may hold it differently. You may appreciate it differently. You may protect it differently because you will remember what it felt like to wait for it. So if you are here tonight feeling like your story has slowed down, let me leave you with this gentle truth. You are not being left behind. You are being held in a place of care, wisdom and preparation. And when Allah decides to move your life forward, it will not feel rushed. It will feel right. It will feel steady. It will feel like peace. So rest your heart for now. Trust the one who is holding your life in His hands. And remember, my dear brother, my dear sister, being held by Allah is never a sign of being forgotten. Not everything you want is meant to stay with you. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to you softly again, because some truths are not meant to be heard in a loud voice. They are meant to be felt in the quiet places of the heart. There are things in your life that you once held very tightly. People, dreams, plans, versions of your future that you built in your mind and carried with you like something precious. You imagined how things would turn out. You pictured moments that never happened. You placed your hope into something and believed with all your heart that this was what would finally make everything feel right. And then, slowly or sometimes suddenly, it was taken away. A person walked out of your life. A door you worked hard to open stayed closed. A dream you prayed for began to fade. And when that happens, the heart does not just feel disappointment. It feels loss. It feels confusion. It feels like something was taken without explanation. So you begin to ask Allah questions in the quiet. Why, Ya Allah? What did I do wrong? Was my dua not enough? Was my patience not enough? These questions are not signs of weak faith. They are signs of a human heart trying to understand a divine decision. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me tell you something gently. Not everything you love is meant to stay with you forever, and not everything you lose is taken away to hurt you. Some things leave because their purpose in your life has been fulfilled. Think about this for a moment. There are people who enter your life to teach you something, to show you something about yourself, to help you grow in a way you could not have grown alone. And once that lesson is complete, they quietly step out of your story. If they stayed, they might hold you in a version of yourself that Allah is trying to move you beyond. But when they leave, it feels like the ground disappears beneath your feet. You replay conversations. You wonder what you could have done differently. You imagine alternate endings where things worked out. And in those moments, the heart can become heavy with what if. But Allah does not build lives on what if. He builds lives on what will be. And sometimes what will be requires what was to make space. My dear brother, my dear sister, we often fall in love with what feels familiar, not with what is good for us. We get attached to what gives us comfort, even if it quietly takes away our peace. We hold on to what fills our time, even if it empties our soul. We chase what makes us feel wanted, even if it slowly pulls us away from who we are meant to become. And because it feels good in the moment, we assume it must be right. But Allah looks deeper than the moment. He looks at the path ahead. He looks at your future heart. He looks at the person you are becoming. He sees how that relationship would have shaped you. He sees how that opportunity would have changed your priorities. He sees how that dream would have affected your closeness to Him. So when He removes something, it is not always because it is bad in itself. Sometimes it is because it is bad for who you are meant to be. That is a very different kind of mercy. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to the part of you that still misses something that is gone. It is okay to miss. It is okay to feel the empty space where something used to be. It is okay to remember the good moments, the laughter, the hopes you shared, the comfort you felt. Islam does not teach us to erase our emotions. It teaches us to place them in the right hands. So place them in the hands of Allah, because when something leaves your life, it does not leave without His permission. And if it left with His permission, then there is a reason, even if you do not understand it yet. Sometimes Allah removes what you are holding on to because it is standing in the way of what He wants to give you. But you cannot carry something new if your hands are already full, my dear brother, my dear sister. There is a very quiet pain that comes from holding on to something that Allah is gently trying to take away. You feel torn. Part of you wants to trust. Part of you wants to hold on. And in that tension, the heart becomes tired. But when you finally let go, even if it hurts at first, something strange begins to happen. You start to breathe again. You start to feel lighter. You start to notice parts of yourself that were hidden behind that attachment. You realize that your whole identity was not meant to be built around that person, that plan, or that dream. You are more than what you lost, my dear brother, my dear sister. Let me tell you something that can bring comfort in the middle of loss. Allah does not take something away from you unless He plans to replace it with something that serves your soul better. but the replacement does not always come immediately. Sometimes there is a space in between, a space that feels empty, a space that feels uncomfortable, a space that feels like silence. That space is not a punishment. That space is room for healing, room for reflection, room for growth, room for something new to enter without being compared to what came before. If Allah filled that space immediately, you would not notice the difference. You would not feel the change. You would not understand the mercy. So He lets the space remain for a while, not to hurt you, but to prepare you. My dear brother, my dear sister, think about how many times in your life something ended and you thought, this is it. I will never recover from this. And yet, here you are. You survived. You adapted. You became stronger in ways you never planned. And if you look closely, you may realize that some of the best parts of who you are today were born out of something you once begged Allah not to take away. Pain has a strange way of carving space for wisdom. Loss has a strange way of teaching you what truly matters. My dear brother, my dear sister, there is something very freeing about trusting Allah with what leaves your life. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? You begin to ask, what is Allah guiding me toward? Instead of seeing yourself as someone who lost something, you begin to see yourself as someone being led somewhere. And that shift can change the way your heart carries the past. You stop dragging old chapters into new pages. You start allowing Allah to write something fresh. My dear brother, my dear sister, if you are holding on to something tonight that you feel Allah has been slowly pulling away, let me leave you with this gentle reminder. What is meant for you will never need to be forced to stay. What truly belongs in your life will grow with you, not fight against you. And what Allah removes, He removes with a wisdom that comes from love, not from neglect. So trust Him even in the moments when your heart does not understand. Because one day you may look back and thank Allah for something you once asked Him to let remain. And in that moment you will realize that what felt like loss was actually guidance. Your wait is where Allah is building the real you. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to you in this quiet space again, because waiting is one of the hardest places for the human heart to live. Waiting feels like standing in a hallway between two rooms. Behind you is the life you knew. In front of you is the life you are hoping for. And in between there is silence, there is uncertainty. There is that uncomfortable feeling of not knowing what comes next. This is the place where many hearts grow tired. You wake up each day and feel like you are repeating the same moments, the same routines, the same thoughts, the same prayers. And slowly a question begins to rise inside you. Ya Allah, what is happening in my life right now? It feels like nothing is moving, like nothing is changing, like your name is not being called. But let me tell you something gently. Just because you cannot see movement does not mean Allah is not working. Some of the most important changes in your life happen in places you cannot observe. In the heart, in the mind, in the way you see the world, in the way you speak to yourself when no one else is listening. My dear brother, my dear sister, think about a tree for a moment. Before it grows tall, before it spreads its branches, before it gives shade to others, it must first grow roots, and those roots grow in darkness. No one applauds them, no one sees them, no one takes pictures of them, but without them the tree cannot stand when the storms come. Your waiting is like that. Allah is growing your roots. He is deepening your patience so you do not collapse when life becomes heavy. He is strengthening your trust so you do not fall apart when things do not go your way. He is softening your heart so you do not become harsh when the world tests you. These changes do not make noise. They do not show up on the outside, but they determine how you will stand later. My dear brother, my dear sister, there is a version of you that only exists in the waiting. The version of you who learns how to sit with discomfort instead of running from it. The version of you who learns how to speak to Allah instead of complaining to people. The version of you who learns how to find peace even when nothing around you looks peaceful. This version of you is not built in moments of celebration. It is built in moments of quiet endurance. And one day, when Allah gives you what you have been asking for, you may realize that the real gift was not just the outcome. It was who you became while you were waiting. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to the part of you that feels invisible. When you are waiting, it can feel like the world does not see you anymore. Others seem busy with their lives, their achievements, their happiness, their stories. And you feel like you are standing in the background of your own life. But Allah does not work in the background. He works in the depths. While people notice what happens on the surface, Allah shapes what lies beneath. And what lies beneath is what truly lasts. He sees your quiet prayers. He sees your tired patience. He sees the strength it takes to keep hoping when nothing seems to be changing. And every time you choose to trust Him instead of giving up, something inside you becomes stronger, even if you cannot feel it yet. My dear brother, my dear sister, waiting has a strange way of revealing what truly matters to you. When everything is moving fast, you do not always stop to ask yourself why you are chasing what you are chasing. But when things slow down, you begin to notice your intentions. You begin to ask, what do I really want? Who do I really want to become? Am I seeking this because it brings me closer to Allah, or because it makes me look better in front of people? These questions do not come easily. They often come in moments of loneliness, in moments of stillness, in moments when you finally sit with your own thoughts instead of escaping them. And in those moments, Allah is guiding you, even if it feels uncomfortable. My dear brother, my dear sister, there is something very powerful about learning how to be okay in the in-between. Not happy, not sad, not fulfilled, not broken, just present. Present with your breath. Present with your prayer. Present with your own heart. This is where you learn to find Allah without needing something from Him. This is where you learn to worship Him, not only when you are receiving, but also when you are waiting. And that kind of connection changes you. It makes your faith deeper than circumstance. It makes your trust stronger than outcome. It makes your peace less dependent on what happens next. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me tell you something that may surprise you. Sometimes Allah delays what you are asking for, because if He gave it to you right now, it would distract you from the work He is doing inside you. There are seasons in life when your heart needs more attention than your future. Seasons when healing matters more than achievement. Seasons when understanding matters more than progress. Seasons when connection with Allah matters more than connection with people. If Allah filled your hands too quickly, you might not notice what He is trying to place in your heart. So He keeps your hands empty for a while, not to leave you with nothing, but to give you room to grow, room to reflect, room to become someone who can carry what is coming without losing himself in it. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to the part of you that is afraid that waiting means being forgotten. Allah does not forget those who turn to Him in patience. In fact, some of the people Allah loves the most are those who learn how to stay gentle, hopeful, and trusting even when their lives feel uncertain. Because it is easy to believe when everything is going well, but it takes a special kind of heart to believe when nothing is clear, and Allah sees that heart. He sees you choosing prayer over despair. He sees you choosing hope over bitterness. He sees you choosing trust over fear, even on days when you feel like you are barely holding on. My dear brother, my dear sister, one day when the season of waiting ends, you may look back and realize something very beautiful. You may realize that this was the time when you learned how to stand on your own. This was the time when you learned how to find comfort in Allah instead of in people. This was the time when you learned how to carry your heart with care instead of urgency. And when the door finally opens, you will not walk through it as the same person who stood outside knocking. You will walk through it as someone stronger, calmer, and more rooted, because the waiting changed you. So if tonight you feel tired of standing in this in-between place, let me leave you with this gentle truth. You are not wasting time. You are being shaped. And what Allah is shaping inside you right now may be more valuable than what you are waiting to receive. What you force will never feel like peace. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to you softly again, because there are moments when the heart grows tired of waiting, and in that tiredness, it begins to push instead of trust. There is a kind of pressure that builds quietly inside you when things do not move the way you hoped they would. You feel it in your chest, in your thoughts, in the way you look at the future and feel a little restless instead of calm. And slowly, without realizing it, you begin to tell yourself, I have to make this happen. I cannot just wait. I cannot just sit here. So you push conversations that were meant to unfold naturally. You push decisions that needed more time. You push doors that do not open easily. And sometimes those doors do open, but what comes through them does not always feel like relief. It feels like something you now have to carry instead of something that carries you. My dear brother, my dear sister, there is a difference between effort and forcing. Effort feels like walking with trust. Forcing feels like running with fear. Effort allows space for Allah. Forcing leaves no room for Him. When you are forcing something into your life, your heart does not rest. You are always alert, always watching, always worried that it might slip away, that it might fall apart, that it might not last. So even when you finally get what you wanted, you cannot enjoy it. You hold it with tight hands instead of open ones. You guard it with anxiety instead of gratitude. You protect it with fear instead of trust. And that is not the feeling of a blessing. That is the feeling of a burden. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me ask you something gently. Think about something in your life right now that feels heavy instead of peaceful. Something you constantly worry about. Something you feel you have to manage all the time. Something you are afraid to lose. Now ask yourself quietly, did this enter my life through trust or through pressure? Because what comes from Allah does not make your heart smaller. It makes it breathe. Even when it is challenging, even when it requires patience, even when it asks something from you, there is still a calm underneath it. My dear brother, my dear sister, sometimes we force things not because we truly want them, but because we are afraid of something else. Afraid of being alone, afraid of falling behind, afraid of being forgotten, afraid of not being enough. So instead of sitting with that fear and bringing it to Allah, we try to fill it with something from the world. A person, a goal, a role, a future we imagine will finally make us feel secure. But nothing in this world is meant to carry the weight of your heart the way Allah does. So when you place that weight on something created, it begins to feel heavy for both you and it. And that is when peace begins to leave. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me tell you something very gentle. If something in your life constantly makes you feel anxious instead of anchored, that is a sign to pause. If something makes you feel like you are always chasing instead of receiving, that is a sign to reflect, because Allah's guidance does not feel like being dragged. It feels like being led. Sometimes the most faithful thing you can do is not to move forward, but to step back. Not to grab tighter, but to loosen your grip. Not to speak louder, but to become quieter inside. And in that quiet, you begin to notice something. What is meant for you does not run away when you stop chasing it. It stays. My dear brother, my dear sister, there are moments when Allah allows something you forced into your life to remain, not as a gift, but as a lesson. Not to punish you, but to teach you. To show you the difference between what you chose out of fear and what He gives out of mercy. And through that experience, you begin to understand something deeply. Peace is not found in getting what you want. Peace is found in trusting who you are getting it from. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to the part of you that feels exhausted from trying to hold everything together. Always fixing, always adjusting, always making sure nothing falls apart. This is not how a blessing is meant to feel. A blessing from Allah may require effort, but it does not drain your soul. It does not steal your sleep. It does not fill your nights with worry instead of rest. So if something in your life feels like it is costing you your peace, bring it to Allah. Say, Ya Allah, if this is good for me, make it easy. And if it is not, take it from my heart before you take it from my hands. This dua is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of deep trust. My dear brother, my dear sister, sometimes Allah keeps a door closed because you are standing in front of it with too much desperation and not enough surrender. Not because He wants to deny you, but because He wants to change the way you approach what you are asking for. He wants you to come with calm, not with panic, with trust, not with fear, with patience, not with pressure. Because the way you receive a blessing often shapes the way you carry it. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me leave you with this gentle truth tonight. What is meant for you will not require you to break yourself to keep it. It will not require you to become someone you are not. It will not require you to live in constant worry. It will not require you to trade your peace for its presence. What Allah gives comes with a quiet sense of this feels right, even if the road is not easy. So if you feel tired of forcing, tired of chasing, tired of pushing, allow yourself to rest. Place what you are holding back into the hands of Allah. And remember, what comes from Him will never steal the peace He placed in your heart. What Allah wrote for you cannot miss you. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to you softly, because there is a quiet fear many hearts carry even when they do not say it out loud. It is the fear of missing something important. The fear that life is moving and you are standing still. The fear that opportunities are passing by while you hesitate. The fear that someone else might take what was meant for you. And in the silence of the night, this fear can grow louder than anything else. What if I miss my destiny? What if I make the wrong choice? What if I do not move fast enough? These questions can make the heart restless. They can make you rush decisions. They can make you chase things that were never meant to be chased. So let me bring some calm into this fear gently. Your life is not a race that you can lose. Allah did not write your story in a way that depends on perfect timing from you. He did not design your destiny to fall apart because you took a slower step or made a small mistake. What He wrote for you does not need you to panic. It needs you to trust. My dear brother, my dear sister, think about how carefully Allah created you. He shaped your heart. He gave you your mind. He placed you in your family, your time, your place in the world. Do you really think that after all of this care, He would leave the most important parts of your life to chance? Nothing meant for you is wandering around hoping you will run into it. It is being guided to you, even when the path is long, even when it takes turns you did not expect, even when you feel like you are walking in circles. Allah knows exactly where you are standing. My dear brother, my dear sister, sometimes we look at the lives of others and think, they got there before me. They received what I am still waiting for. They are ahead and I am behind. But Allah does not give based on who is ahead or behind. He gives based on who is ready. Ready to carry without breaking. Ready to appreciate without becoming proud. Ready to receive without forgetting Him. So when you see someone else receive something you desire, do not assume that you lost your chance. Assume that Allah is preparing you in a different way. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me tell you something that can bring great peace if you allow it to settle in your heart. If something truly belongs in your life, you cannot ruin it by being human. You cannot break it by being confused. You cannot lose it by being unsure. You cannot destroy it by making a mistake. Allah's mercy is bigger than your missteps. Even if you take the wrong road for a while, Allah can still guide you back to what He wrote for you. Even if you fall, He can still lift you and place you where you need to be. So do not live with the constant pressure of trying to be perfect. Live with the calm of knowing you are guided. My dear brother, my dear sister, there is something very beautiful about understanding that what is meant for you does not arrive in chaos. It arrives with a sense of this was always on its way. It may surprise you. It may come through a door you never noticed before. It may arrive at a time you thought was too late. But when it comes, something inside you recognizes it. Not because it is flashy, not because it is loud, but because it feels like it fits. It fits your heart. It fits your life. It fits the person you have become. And that is when you realize that the waiting, the confusion, the long road, none of it was wasted. It was shaping you to recognize what belongs to you. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to the part of you that feels pressure to always make the right move. It is good to be thoughtful. It is good to seek guidance. It is good to make dua before decisions. But it is not good to live in constant fear, because fear makes you rush. Fear makes you grab instead of receive. Fear makes you hold tightly instead of trusting. Allah does not want you to live your life in panic. He wants you to walk through it with reliance on Him. So when you stand at a crossroads, do your part. Pray, think, seek advice, and then step forward with trust. If it is right for you, Allah will make it stay. If it is not, Allah will gently guide you away, even if you do not understand how. My dear brother, my dear sister, There are moments when you will look back at your life and realize something quietly. You did not arrive at this moment by accident. Every delay, every change of direction, every closed door, every unexpected turn, it all carried you here. And the same will be true for what is coming next. So instead of worrying about missing what is meant for you, focus on becoming someone who is ready to receive it. Ready with patience, ready with gratitude, ready with humility, ready with a heart that remembers Allah in both ease and difficulty. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me leave you with this gentle truth tonight. What Allah has written for you is not fragile. It does not depend on perfect timing. It does not depend on flawless decisions. It does not depend on you always knowing what to do. It depends on His mercy, and His mercy does not miss. So rest your heart, walk your path with calm, trust that what belongs in your life is finding its way to you even now, even in this moment, even in this season of waiting. Allah may be changing you before He changes your life. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to you softly again, because sometimes the heart becomes tired not from what is happening around it, but from what is happening inside it. There are moments in life when you keep asking Allah to change your situation. You ask Him to change your job. You ask Him to change your relationship. You ask Him to change your environment. You ask Him to change the direction your life is going. And day after day, you wake up and realize that everything around you looks the same. The same room, the same streets, the same people, the same routines. And quietly you begin to wonder, Ya Allah, are you hearing me? But let me tell you something gently. Sometimes Allah answers your dua by changing you instead of changing what is around you. My dear brother, my dear sister, there are blessings that cannot fit into the heart you have today. Not because your heart is weak, but because it is still becoming. So before Allah places something new into your hands, He reshapes what is inside your chest. He stretches your patience. He deepens your understanding. He softens your reactions. He strengthens your reliance on Him. These changes do not come with fireworks. They do not come with announcements. They come quietly through small moments you might not even notice. Through a conversation that makes you think differently. Through a disappointment that teaches you humility. Through a delay that teaches you endurance. Through a night of prayer that teaches you closeness to Allah. And slowly, without realizing it, you are not the same person you were before. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to the part of you that feels frustrated. It is hard to stay patient when your life looks the same on the outside. It is hard to keep trusting when you cannot see clear signs of progress. But sometimes, the most important progress is happening where no one else can see it. In your character, in your faith, in the way you respond instead of react, in the way you forgive instead of hold grudges, in the way you turn to Allah instead of turning away when things become heavy. These are not small changes. These are life-shaping changes. My dear brother, my dear sister, think about something you once went through that felt unbearable at the time. Maybe it was a loss. Maybe it was a failure. Maybe it was a disappointment that broke your heart. At the time, all you wanted was for it to end. But if you look back now, you may notice something quietly. You are not the same person you were before that moment. You may be more careful, more compassionate, more aware, more grounded. That is Allah's work. He does not just move you from place to place. He moves you from version to version. My dear brother, my dear sister, sometimes Allah keeps you in a situation not because He wants you to suffer, but because He wants to teach you something that can only be learned there. Patience cannot be learned without waiting. Gratitude cannot be learned without scarcity. Trust cannot be learned without uncertainty. If Allah removed every difficulty too quickly, you would never develop the strength to face the next one. So He stays with you in it. He listens to your dua. He sees your tears. He watches you struggle. And through that, He shapes you into someone who can carry more than you could before. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to the part of you that feels like you are being overlooked. When Allah is working on you, it can feel like everyone else is moving ahead. They are achieving, they are receiving, they are celebrating, and you are still waiting. But Allah does not prepare everyone in the same way. Some people are given quickly because what they are carrying is light. Some people are prepared slowly because what they are carrying will be heavy. Heavy with responsibility, heavy with influence, heavy with impact. So if your preparation feels long, do not assume it means you are less. It may mean you are being trusted with more. My dear brother, my dear sister, there is something very beautiful about becoming someone who can remain calm in the middle of uncertainty, someone who can remain kind in the middle of frustration, someone who can remain hopeful in the middle of delay. This kind of person is not created in ease. This kind of person is created in moments when you have every reason to give up, but you choose to trust Allah instead. And Allah loves this choice. He loves when you turn to Him, not just for what He can give you, but because you need Him. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me tell you something that can bring peace to your heart. If Allah changes you, He is preparing you for something that your old self could not handle. Your old self might have rushed. Your old self might have complained. Your old self might have taken things for granted. But the version of you that Allah is shaping now will receive differently, with more gratitude, with more humility, with more awareness of where the blessing came from. And that changes everything. My dear brother, my dear sister, there will come a day when something in your life finally changes on the outside. A door opens. A path becomes clear. A chapter begins. And in that moment, you may look back at this season and realize something quietly. You were not just waiting, you were being prepared to walk into what came next without losing yourself in it. Prepared to carry what Allah gave you without forgetting Him. Prepared to stand in ease the same way you stood in difficulty. So if tonight you feel like your life is not moving, let me leave you with this gentle truth. Allah may already be moving the most important part of your life. You, my dear brother, my dear sister, let me continue softly, because some truths need more than one moment to settle into the heart. There are times when you look at your life and feel like you are standing still while the world is running past you. You see movement everywhere except where you are. New beginnings for others, new chapters for others, new doors opening for others. And quietly a question forms inside you. Ya Allah, when will it be my turn? Let me answer that question gently. Sometimes Allah delays your turn because He is still shaping the hands that will hold what is coming. There are blessings that change the direction of your life, blessings that bring responsibility along with joy, blessings that test you in new ways once you receive them. So before Allah places those things in your path, He prepares your heart to carry them without losing itself. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to the part of you that feels tired of becoming. It is exhausting to keep growing when you just want to rest. It is tiring to keep learning when you just want things to finally feel easy. It is heavy to keep being patient when you feel like you have already waited long enough. But becoming is not a punishment. Becoming is an honor. Allah does not shape every heart deeply. He does not stretch every soul. He does not refine every person in the same way. Some hearts are meant to live simple lives, and that is beautiful. Some hearts are meant to carry heavier stories, and that is also beautiful. So if you feel like life has been pressing you, molding you, and changing you more than you expected, do not assume it is because Allah is displeased with you. It may be because He trusts you, my dear brother, my dear sister. There is something very sacred about being shaped in private, when no one is watching, when no one is applauding, when no one knows the conversations you have with Allah in the quiet of the night. These moments do not show up in public success. They do not appear in achievements people can see, but they form the foundation of who you become. And when Allah eventually brings you into a place where others can see your life, they will not see the nights you spent learning how to trust Him. They will not see the moments when you almost gave up but chose to pray instead. They will only see the outcome, but Allah will know the process. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to the part of you that feels misunderstood. When you are in a season of becoming, people around you may not understand why you are quieter, why you are slower, why you are not chasing the same things they are chasing. They may think you are wasting time, they may think you are being too careful, they may think you are falling behind. But Allah is not measuring you by speed. He is measuring you by depth. Depth of faith, depth of character, depth of patience, depth of reliance on Him, and depth takes time. My dear brother, my dear sister, sometimes Allah allows you to walk through uncertainty so you learn how to walk with Him, not just toward a goal. It is easy to trust Allah when you can see where you are going. It is harder to trust Him when the path feels dark, when the next step is unclear, when you cannot see what comes next. But this is where true reliance is born. Not in clarity, not in comfort, but in faith. And Allah loves this kind of faith. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me tell you something that may bring a soft kind of strength into your heart. If Allah is taking time with you, it means your story is not meant to be rushed. There are lives that are meant to unfold quickly. There are lives that are meant to unfold deeply. Depth requires patience. Depth requires reflection. Depth requires moments when you sit with yourself and ask hard questions about who you are and who you want to be in the sight of Allah. And if you are in that kind of season, do not rush your way out of it. There is wisdom here, my dear brother, my dear sister. There will come a day when you will meet a version of yourself that you do not recognize at first. A calmée version, a stronger version, a softer version, a more trusting version. And you will realize that this version of you was built in moments that felt slow, quiet, and unnoticed. So if tonight you feel like your life is not moving forward, let me leave you with this gentle reminder. You may already be moving in the most important way. You are moving inward, and from there, Allah will guide you outward at the right time, in the right way, with the right kind of peace. Peace is the sign you are walking with Allah, not ahead of Him. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to you softly again, because there is a kind of tiredness that does not come from the body, but from the heart. It is the tiredness of always chasing, always worrying, always wondering if you are doing enough, moving fast enough, becoming enough. This kind of tiredness grows when your life feels like a race instead of a journey. You look at what you want and you start running toward it. You look at where others are and you start comparing. You look at the future and you start fearing what might not happen. And slowly your heart forgets how to rest. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me tell you something gently. Allah did not create your life to feel like a constant emergency. He did not design your path to be walked in panic. He did not intend your faith to be carried with anxiety instead of trust. When Allah guides someone, He does not just show them where to go. He shows them how to walk. And one of the signs that you are walking in the direction Allah wants for you is not speed, it is peace. My dear brother, my dear sister. Peace does not mean your life has no problems. It does not mean everything is easy. It does not mean you always feel happy. Peace means that even when things are heavy, your heart does not feel lost. There is a quiet steadiness inside you, a feeling that says, I may not understand everything, but I am not alone in this. That feeling is not something you create for yourself. It is something Allah places in your heart when you are walking with Him. My dear brother, my dear sister, think about moments in your life when you made a decision out of fear. Maybe you were afraid of losing someone. Maybe you were afraid of being left behind. Maybe you were afraid of not being enough. So you moved quickly, you agreed to things you were not ready for. You stayed in places that did not feel right. You chased paths that did not bring you closer to Allah. And even if those decisions looked good on the outside, inside, something felt unsettled. Your heart did not rest. Your mind did not feel clear. Your soul did not feel light. That restlessness is not random. It is often a gentle signal from Allah that you are walking ahead of Him instead of beside Him. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me tell you something very soft. Allah does not push you into your future. He leads you. There is a difference. When you are pushed, you stumble. When you are led, you walk steadily. So if you feel like your life has been filled with constant pressure, constant urgency, constant fear of missing out, pause for a moment. Ask yourself quietly, Ya Allah, am I running towards something or am I following you? My dear brother, my dear sister, there are times when Allah will ask you to let go of something you really want. Not because it is bad in itself, not because you are wrong to want it, but because holding on to it right now is pulling you away from Him. And when you let go, it hurts. It feels like loss. It feels like emptiness. It feels like stepping into the unknown. But if that letting go brings a strange calm into your heart, even through the pain, that calm is a sign that Allah is guiding you even when the path feels unclear. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to the part of you that feels confused about what you should do next. Not every choice in life comes with a clear sign in the sky. Not every step is marked with certainty. Sometimes all you have is a quiet feeling inside, a feeling of ease or a feeling of heaviness. And the Prophet ﷺ taught us that when something is good for you, Allah opens your chest toward it. He gives your heart a sense of acceptance. And when something is not good for you, even if it looks attractive on the outside, He places a weight in your chest. So pay attention to your heart. Not the heart of desire, not the heart of fear, but the heart of calm. My dear brother, my dear sister, there is a kind of peace that comes when you stop trying to control every part of your life. When you accept that your job is not to write your story, your job is to walk through it with trust. You still make effort, you still plan, you still take steps, but you do not carry the weight of outcome on your shoulders. You place it in the hands of Allah. And when you do that, something changes inside you. You start to breathe more deeply. You start to sleep more peacefully. You start to face the future with less fear and more faith. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me tell you something that can bring comfort when you feel lost. If Allah is guiding you, even the wrong turns will teach you something. Even the delays will protect you from something. Even the closed doors will lead you to another entrance. So you do not have to walk through life afraid of every step. You can walk with trust, my dear brother, my dear sister. There will be moments in your life when everything feels uncertain. You do not know where you are going. You do not know what will happen next. You do not know how things will turn out. And in those moments, peace may not look like happiness. It may look like a quiet acceptance. A gentle, Ya Allah, I leave this with you. And that kind of peace is powerful. It frees your heart from carrying what it was never meant to carry. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me leave you with this gentle truth tonight. If you are constantly anxious about where your life is going, it may not be because your future is dark. It may be because you are trying to walk it alone. So slow down, look toward Allah. Take your next step with Him instead of ahead of Him, and you will begin to notice something beautiful. Even when the path is unclear, your heart will start to feel lighter, because peace is not found in knowing what comes next. Peace is found in knowing who is walking with you. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me continue gently, because peace is not something you find once and keep forever. It is something you learn to return to again and again. There are days when your heart feels calm and you think, I am finally okay. And then, without warning, a message, a memory, a thought, or a fear can shake that calm. And suddenly, you feel restless again. This does not mean you have lost your way. It means you are human. My dear brother, my dear sister, peace is not the absence of struggle. It is the presence of Allah in the middle of it. There are people who have everything they wanted in life and still feel empty. And there are people who have very little and still feel a deep sense of contentment. The difference is not what they have. The difference is who they are leaning on. When you lean on the world, you feel strong only when the world is kind to you. But when you lean on Allah, you can feel steady even when life is uncertain. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to the part of you that is always thinking about the future. What if this doesn't work out? What if I make the wrong choice? What if I end up alone? What if I fail? These questions can fill your mind and steal the calm from your heart. But let me remind you gently, the future is not in your hands. And that is not something to fear. That is something to find comfort in, because the one who holds it is more merciful to you than you are to yourself. My dear brother, my dear sister, there is something very beautiful about learning to walk one step at a time, not 10 steps ahead, not a whole year into the future, not through every possible outcome, just one step. When you wake up in the morning, your job is not to solve your entire life. Your job is to turn to Allah and say, guide me today. And if you can do that, you have already done something powerful, my dear brother, my dear sister. Sometimes Allah will guide you by making you uncomfortable with where you are, not to punish you, but to move you. You may feel restless in a place you once felt comfortable. You may feel distant from a path you once enjoyed. You may feel heavy in a situation that once felt light. This is not always a sign that something is wrong with you. It can be a sign that Allah is gently pulling you towards something else. But even in that pull, He does not remove peace. He places a quiet trust inside you that says you may not see where this is going, but you are not being led into harm. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to the part of you that feels guilty for wanting peace. Some people think that if they are not constantly worried, they are not taking life seriously. If they are not always stressed, they are being careless. But Islam does not teach us to live in constant tension. It teaches us to live in reliance. The Prophet ﷺ carried the heaviest responsibilities, faced the greatest trials, and still turned to Allah with a heart that trusted Him completely. So peace is not weakness, peace is faith. My dear brother, my dear sister, there is a kind of peace that comes when you stop fighting what Allah has already allowed. When you stop saying, this should not be happening to me, and begin to say, Ya Allah, help me through what you have placed in front of me. This shift does not remove the difficulty, but it removes the loneliness. Because now you are not facing it by yourself. You are facing it with Allah. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me tell you something softly. If something in your life brings you closer to Allah, even through pain, it is not taking you in the wrong direction. And if something in your life pulls you away from Allah, even through comfort, it is not truly bringing you peace. So let your closeness to Him be your measure. Not how fast you are moving, not how much you are gaining, not how good things look from the outside, but how your heart feels when you turn toward Him in the quiet. My dear brother, my dear sister, there will be moments when you feel like you are standing in the middle of your life, not knowing which way to go. Left feels uncertain, right feels heavy, forward feels unclear. And in those moments, do not rush. Sit with Allah, pray 2 rak'ah, speak to Him in your own words. Ask for clarity, not speed, because clarity brings peace, and peace brings strength. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me leave you with this gentle reminder tonight. You do not need to see the whole path to take the next step. You only need to know that Allah is with you on it. And if He is with you, even the slowest walk will lead you to the right place. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me sit with you in this moment a little longer, because trust is not something the heart learns all at once. It is something it returns to again and again, especially on the nights when everything feels uncertain. There are times when you lie awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying conversations, decisions, and moments you cannot change. Your mind walks into the past and worries about the future at the same time, and your heart feels caught in between. And in those moments, peace feels far away. But let me remind you gently, Allah is not only with you in what is coming, He is also with you in what already happened. Nothing in your past escaped His knowledge. Nothing in your future will escape His care. My dear brother, my dear sister, there is something very heavy about carrying yesterday and tomorrow in the same breath. Yesterday brings regret, tomorrow brings fear, and today gets lost in between. But Allah meets you in today. He gives you this moment, this breath, this quiet space as a place to rest your heart for a little while. You do not have to solve your entire life tonight. You do not have to understand every chapter of your story right now. You do not have to make every decision before the morning comes. You only have to remember that you are not walking alone. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to the part of you that feels tired of being strong. It is exhausting to always tell yourself, I will be okay. It is heavy to keep holding yourself together when you wish someone else would hold you for a change. But let me tell you something soft. Allah is holding you, even when you cannot feel it, even when you doubt it, even when your heart feels too tired to believe it. He is closer to you than your own breath. So when you feel like you have no more strength left, you are not empty. You are simply in a place where you are meant to lean on Him instead of on yourself. My dear brother, my dear sister, trust does not mean you will never feel pain. Trust means that when pain comes, it does not convince you that you are abandoned. It does not make you believe that your life has no meaning. It does not make you feel like your story is broken beyond repair. Instead, trust whispers something quiet inside you. This hurts, but it is not the end. My dear brother, my dear sister, there are moments when Allah will answer you not by changing what is happening, but by changing how you carry it. The situation stays the same. The difficulty remains. The waiting continues, but your heart becomes lighter. You stop fighting the moment. You stop asking, why me? You begin to say, Ya Allah, walk with me through this. And that shift changes everything. Because now you are not just surviving your life, you are living it with Allah. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me tell you something that can bring a gentle kind of courage into your heart. If Allah brings you to something, He will bring you through it. He does not leave His servants in the middle of their story. He does not guide you to a door and then disappear when it becomes difficult to open. He stays through confusion, through disappointment, through fear, through hope. So when you feel like you are standing at a place in your life that you do not understand, remember this. You are not lost. You are being led. My dear brother, my dear sister, there is a kind of rest that comes when you stop demanding that life makes sense right now. When you allow some questions to remain unanswered for a while. When you accept that not every chapter will explain itself immediately. This is not giving up. This is surrender. And surrender is not weakness. Surrender is faith. It is placing your heart in the hands of the one who created it and saying, you know me better than I know myself. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me leave you with this soft truth tonight. You do not have to be brave all the time. You do not have to be certain all the time. You do not have to be strong all the time. You only have to keep turning back to Allah again and again. Because in turning to Him, even when your heart is tired, even when your mind is full, even when your future feels unclear, you will always find a place to rest. Your dua is not late. It is being delivered with care. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to you one last time in this quiet moment, because there are some truths that are meant to be carried into the night, not just heard and forgotten. There are prayers you have made that still live inside your heart. Prayers you whispered when no one else was listening. Prayers you repeated when you felt tired of explaining yourself to people. Prayers you carried in silence because you did not have the strength to say them out loud anymore. And sometimes when time passes and nothing seems to change, you begin to wonder if those prayers were lost somewhere between your lips and the sky. So let me remind you gently, no dua ever disappears. Not a single word you send toward Allah is wasted. Not a single tear that falls from your eyes goes unseen. Not a single moment of hope is ignored. But Allah does not answer in the way the world answers. The world gives quickly and forgets quickly. The world promises easily and takes away easily. Allah gives slowly and lets it stay. My dear brother, my dear sister, sometimes you ask Allah for something specific, a person, a change, a door to open, a pain to end, and Allah hears you. But instead of giving you exactly what you named, He gives you what you need. He gives you strength instead of relief. He gives you patience instead of answers. He gives you closeness to Him instead of a quick solution. And in the moment, this can feel like silence. But it is not silence, it is care. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to the part of you that feels tired of asking. There are moments when you stop making dua, not because you no longer believe, but because you feel like you have already said everything there is to say. You have already cried, you have already hoped, you have already waited, and your heart feels heavy with repetition. But let me tell you something softly. Allah never grows tired of hearing from you. People may grow tired of your story. The world may grow tired of your pain. Even you may grow tired of your own voice. But Allah does not. Every time you turn to Him, it matters. Even if you say the same words, even if you bring the same fear, even if you ask for the same thing. Because dua is not only about receiving, it is about connecting. My dear brother, my dear sister. Sometimes Allah delays the answer because the waiting itself is shaping something beautiful in you. It teaches you how to hope without seeing. It teaches you how to trust without proof. It teaches you how to lean on Allah instead of leaning on outcomes. These are not small lessons. These are lessons that stay with you for the rest of your life. My dear brother, my dear sister, there is something very gentle about realizing that Allah's timing is not cold or distant. It is personal. He knows when you are strong enough to receive. He knows when you are soft enough to appreciate. He knows when you are ready to carry what you asked for without letting it carry you away from Him. So when the answer comes later than you hoped, it is not because Allah forgot. It is because He remembered you too well. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to the part of you that feels like you are falling behind in life. You see others receiving things you are still praying for. You see doors opening for others while yours remain closed. And a quiet sadness settles in your chest. But remember something gently. Allah does not measure your life against anyone else's. Your story is not meant to look like theirs. Your timing is not meant to match theirs. Your path is not meant to follow theirs. He is writing something for you that fits your heart, your faith, your journey. And that takes a different kind of care. My dear brother, my dear sister, there will come a day when you look back at your life and see a pattern you cannot see right now. You will see how the delay protected you. You will see how the waiting prepared you. You will see how the closed doors redirected you. And you may realize that if Allah had answered you sooner, you would not have been where you needed to be when the true blessing arrived. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me tell you something that can bring your heart a deep kind of rest. Your dua is not standing still. It is moving through a path of mercy. A path that leads not only to what you asked for, but to who you are becoming along the way. And sometimes the greatest answer to a prayer is not the moment you receive. It is the person you become while you wait. My dear brother, my dear sister, as this moment comes to a close, I want you to carry this with you into the quiet of your night. You are seen, you are heard, you are remembered. Even when you feel small in the world, you are never small in the sight of Allah. So keep asking, keep hoping, keep trusting. Not because you are sure of what will happen, but because you are sure of who you are placing your heart in. And when Allah finally places the answer into your life, may it come with a peace that makes you whisper, this was worth the wait. Oh, my dear brother, my dear sister, let me stay with you for a little longer, because sometimes the heart needs more than one gentle reminder before it finally begins to rest. There are nights when you sit in silence and think about all the things you asked Allah for that have not yet appeared in your life. You replay your dua in your mind. You remember the moments when you felt sure that this time, this prayer, this tear would change everything. And when nothing seems different the next day, it can feel like hope itself grows tired. But let me tell you something softly. Hope does not get tired. Hearts get tired, and Allah understands the difference. My dear brother, my dear sister, sometimes Allah allows you to keep making the same dua, not because He has not heard it, but because through it, He is keeping you close to Him. Every time you turn to Him, you step away from the noise of the world. Every time you whisper His name, you create a small space of peace inside your chest. Every time you raise your hands, even in exhaustion, you remind your soul where safety truly lives. So even when the answer feels far, the connection is already a gift. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to the part of you that wonders if your prayers are too small. You may look at the vastness of the world and think, who am I to ask for this? There are so many people with bigger problems, deeper pain, heavier burdens. But Allah does not measure your dua by size. He measures it by sincerity. A small prayer whispered with a full heart matters more than 1,000 words spoken without presence. So do not hold back what is in your chest. Allah already knows it. My dear brother, my dear sister, there are times when Allah answers your dua by changing the road instead of the destination. You ask to arrive somewhere specific, He guides you somewhere better. And in the moment, this can feel like disappointment. But later, when you stand in a place you never imagined, with a heart that feels lighter than it used to, you begin to understand. Sometimes, what you asked for was only a step. What Allah wanted to give you was a journey. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me tell you something that can bring comfort when you feel forgotten. Allah does not store your dua in a place where it gathers dust. He weaves it into your life, into the people you meet, into the lessons you learn, into the strength you build, into the moments that change the way you see yourself and Him. So even when you cannot point to a clear answer, look at who you are becoming. Look at how you speak now compared to before. Look at how you handle pain now compared to before. Look at how often you turn to Allah now compared to before. These are answers too, my dear brother, my dear sister. There is something very gentle about realizing that Allah's mercy does not rush past you. It walks with you. It waits for you when you are tired. It carries you when you feel weak. It stays with you when everyone else moves on. So if you feel like your prayers are taking a long road, remember this: Allah is not in a hurry to finish with you. He is in a relationship with you, and relationships are not built in moments. They are built in time. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me leave you with this final soft truth tonight. You do not need to hold your future in your hands. You only need to hold Allah in your heart. Because when you do, even the waiting becomes meaningful. Even the silence becomes gentle. Even the unanswered questions become part of a story that is being written with mercy instead of chance. So close your eyes for a moment, take a slow breath, and let your heart rest in this. You are not praying into emptiness. You are praying into care. And care does not forget. Let me remain with you for just a little longer, because there is a gentle shift that happens when the heart moves from asking to thanking. There comes a moment, sometimes very quietly, when you stop counting what has not yet arrived and begin to notice what is already surrounding you. The breath you just took, the roof above your head, the strength in your body that carried you through another day. The unseen protection that kept harm away when you did not even know it was near. These are not small things. They are answers you did not think to ask for. My dear brother, my dear sister, gratitude does something very soft and powerful to the heart. It does not make problems disappear. It does not erase pain. It does not suddenly make life perfect, but it changes the way you carry what is heavy. Instead of feeling like life is only taking from you, you begin to see how much has already been placed in your hands. And in that moment, something inside you relaxes. You stop fighting the present. You stop arguing with the moment. You begin to stand inside it rather than against it. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me speak to the part of you that feels guilty for finding small moments of peace while still waiting for big answers. Peace does not mean you have given up on your dua. Peace means you trust Allah enough to breathe while you wait. You are allowed to smile even when everything is not resolved. You are allowed to rest even when your future is not clear. You are allowed to feel light even when some parts of your life still feel heavy. Allah does not want your heart to live in constant tension. He wants it to live in remembrance. My dear brother, my dear sister, there is something very beautiful about realizing that your relationship with Allah is not only built in moments of need, but also in moments of appreciation. When you say Alhamdulillah, not because something dramatic happened, but because you are still here, still breathing, still turning back to Him. This kind of gratitude is quiet. It does not announce itself, but it settles deeply into the soul. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me tell you something gently. Sometimes the door you are waiting to see open is not in front of you. It is inside you. It is the door to contentment, the door to acceptance, the door to trusting Allah with both what you have and what you hope for. And when that door opens, the outside world does not suddenly change, but you do. You become softer with yourself. You become kinder to your own story. You become less harsh about where you think you should be by now. And that change makes everything feel lighter. My dear brother, my dear sister, there will always be things in life that you are still waiting for. There will always be questions you do not yet have answers to. But there can also be a deep sense of peace living alongside that waiting. A peace that says, I am held, I am guided, I am not forgotten. This peace does not come from knowing what tomorrow holds. It comes from knowing who holds tomorrow. My dear brother, my dear sister, let me leave you with this final gentle reminder tonight. Your life is not a list of unanswered prayers. It is a collection of moments where Allah has been with you even when you did not notice. So carry gratitude in one hand, carry hope in the other, and walk forward knowing that the one who hears your dua is also the one who walks with you through every step of its answer. My dear brother, my dear sister, as these words come to a close, let me leave you with something gentle to carry into your night. You are not forgotten in the silence. You are not lost in the waiting. You are not unseen in the pause. Every step you take, even the slow ones, is known to Allah. Every tear you hide, even the quiet ones, is counted by Him. Every prayer you whisper, even the tired ones, is heard. So when you lay your head down tonight, do not carry tomorrow in your chest. Place it in the hands of the one who already stands in it. Let your heart rest in this truth. What is meant for you will come to you with peace, not panic. with calm, not pressure, with gratitude, not fear. May Allah wrap your heart in patience, your mind in clarity, and your future in mercy. And if you found comfort here tonight, remember, Allah did not bring you to these words by accident. He brought you here because He cares for you. Sleep gently, my dear brother. Sleep gently, my dear sister. Allah is watching over you.